Well, good morning. Happy Thursday to everybody out there. Another episode of Elevating You. I'm Craig. He's Mike Mooney. Mike, we haven't done this in a couple of weeks. It's
Been
good to be
2 weeks,
with
man.
you, buddy. I mean,
I
this
know.
is good stuff.
It is. I miss you, man. I have missed you. I've missed this. I'll tell you the other part of this that's been interesting is I've been getting texts from people who have been, joining us on a regular basis saying, "Hey, when are you coming back? Hey, I need that Thursday morning. When are you guys going to be on?" So this is great.
Really?
This is great. Yeah. Yeah.
People are actually fired up and saying, "We miss you guys."
Yes. And it's not just my mom. It's not just my mom. We've got other people too.
Well, that's good. Listen, I was scrolling through things today, and I posted a couple of videos before we got started.
Yeah.
And this is number 22. Okay. Now we've
22.
skipped a couple of weeks when you
Yeah.
have been gone or I've been gone and the holidays get in the way and all that sort of stuff. But 22 episodes of Elevating You. So I'm just going to say this to everybody that's out there that's been following along. If you've even been through a couple or three of these, thank you. And I'm going to ask you to do us a favor and post something on the Can Advisory Group Facebook page about your biggest takeaways. That's what I want to see. Like we just had Thanksgiving. So tell me what about this that we're doing, are you thankful for? What are you getting most out of it? I want to see those types of comments because that helps us with feedback. If you could share a sentence or two or a paragraph, that would be great because you've done a phenomenal job, right, Mike, of giving us ideas that we can share and topics that we can come up with. We've had a lot of fun. When Mike and I first started this, I don't know, 22 weeks ago, but it was more than that, 25, 26, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It was middle of the year, a little earlier. The pandemic had kind of just started, and we said, hey, we're just going to get together and have some casual conversation talking about things we've all gone through, right? I mean, that's how this started.
Yeah, and that's really been the fun part of the conversation is that as much as if you have been watching, Craig loves to have his slides all set up and ready to go, which are awesome. But well, own it, man. That's good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
But it really has been fun because it's not as like scripted as much as it is just really conversation of, hey, what do you think? And here's what I've experienced. And then obviously with folks tuning in and typing in their comments, questions, thoughts has been awesome. So we'd encourage you to do that because as Craig said early on, I'm going to be checking in as we go here and moving. I got oh, here we go. So you asked a question about what you've been grateful for.
Yeah.
And Tara McAllister typed in, just grateful for a new job, an opportunity, right? And to meet new and old friends again, right? So, we're seeing people, I really believe, reemerge as much as people, sometimes we feel like we're buried in this crap and sludge, but people are reemerging and there's hope, much to be grateful for. So.
Yeah. Well, her comment is right in line with our topic today. So I think she's going to really enjoy where we're going with this conversation. So very cool. You keep monitoring that. And I'm going to kind of take us through. I will say this, folks, take a look at this right here because, Mike and I might be sitting here, but we've got news today. And I know Mike has some news, and I've actually prepared that. He didn't even know what I'm going to put up there for everybody, okay?
I got no idea.
Don't give it away yet right now, okay? But I've been following Mike. I know what Mike's got, and I think Mike knows what my news might be as well. So we'll share that, but you got to hang with us. And
a teaser, man, a teaser.
Yeah, that's a teaser. That is the official teaser.
That's what they call that in the biz.
That's what they call it. Yes. So the last time we got together, this was our topic. It was on the money game. And we discussed raising your experience versus, a lot of people focusing on just increasing the paycheck. And so when we do that, we had a really good conversation last time. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Jill was with us, Jill Bauer, member of Can Advisory's team. And she is off today. She's on the Today Show today.
Yeah,
so
keep that on the down low.
Yeah,
on the down low. She's on the
She's got a little
Today Show.
something. Yeah, that's good. So with that, we always take questions, and I've got a couple of the comments and questions that came, and these are from some of the regulars. I want to reward the regulars who've been with us for a long time. All right, are you ready for this, Mike? So here we go.
All right.
The first one is from Jeff, who said, "How do you turn being the helpful good guy into personal advancement?" In other words, I think the way I read this from Jeff is that, you know, you kind of feel stuck a little bit. All you're looked at is this guy who's just a role player, a contributor, and they have their slot, but they can't elevate. You know, they can't climb the ladder or the escalator or whatever. And how do you turn that into some personal advancement? Do you have a thought on that? I've got one. I'll share after you.
I do. You know, and what comes to mind right away, and this is a sports analogy, you know, when you talked about people having like a slot position, and then you hear people who are impact players. And I believe, my opinion is that we all aren't going to be impact players every moment of every single day. Right. I mean, there's a reason they're called highlight reels, you know, the people compile the plays, but it's not every single one. But still, that impact player knows that there's a role to play all the time, but they pick the spots often, right? They show up in the moments, and they're there to make the impact when it matters most. So I would say that nothing wrong with being the good guy, the good gal, being consistent in your work, but make sure that when there's the opportunity to show impact and value, man, you're on it. You're absolutely on it.
Yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly with that. I think sometimes people today are almost too worried about career advancement, and they forget about the real value that comes from fitting in and not being the disruptor. You know, teamwork is such a big part of any hiring process. You're looking for somebody who can add maybe a skill set that wasn't there before, and can fit in, but also has, you know, real value, some things that they can add that weren't there before. So to your point, you got to kind of pick your spots, but being the helpful good guy is something that a lot of employers are looking for. They don't want the person that comes in and rubs people the wrong way, or, you know, is looking out for themselves. You got to be able to make an impact. And the other thing too that I would say is, you can be a helpful good guy. So let me use the positive of that. A helpful good guy also delegates, or, I mean, I don't know if this is, you know, conversation about being a leader or running a team or whatever, but being the helpful good guy is also somebody that it feels like, to me, can take on a bit of a leadership role and delegate some things, allowing other people, as a good guy or a good person, to advance themselves. Yeah. That's what I think.
No, so I agree. Something that you sparked there too, man, is for the leaders out there, for people who are leading teams, and they're in charge of the dynamics, right? The culture of the organization or their particular department or team. You got to be like super mindful of what people are bringing in terms of like what you said, Greg, of being like the good person, not rubbing people the wrong way. It used to drive me nuts when I'd hear this in some of my old jobs where somebody was in sales and they were absolutely just, you know, they were just a-holes, quite honestly, you know, through and through. But they were good at their job, and you'd hear the boss go, "Hey, you know, they're doing their job, you know, but they're completely eroding the culture. They're completely, you know, distancing this team. They're unraveling the fabric of who we are as an organization, you know." And that would always drive me nuts when it was a golden rule: he who makes the gold makes the rule, and I can be the way I want as long as I'm bringing the money in. You know what? You're not always going to be bringing the money in, or you're not always going to be nailing the job. So you got to make sure that the people that are around you are really contributing, to your point, right? Contributing to that culture and team.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with being the helpful good guy, by the way. Right. Here's a comment from Paul. Paul's a regular. He's been following us for a long time. He's up in the Northeast. I don't know if he's buried under snow or not, but
he might be shoveling right now. I don't know.
How do you leverage long-time experience for that sustainable paycheck? How do you leverage long-time experience for that sustainable paycheck? All right. So what this sounds to me like is somebody who knows that they've been around the block. They've got tons of experience, and they want to make sure that they have longevity within their career. You know, they don't want to be the one when all of a sudden there's a cutback, a furlough, or whatever that is, you know, you've given a lot, but we're going to go younger. We're going to go leaner. We're going to go lighter. We're going to go, you know, I don't want to say on the cheap, but quite frankly, you know, everybody deals with budgets. I dealt with that myself. I'm sure you have a time or two as well. But I would say this: you got to focus on the value that you bring and all of those experiences that you've had. All right. All right. So those are great. Those are your building blocks. Those are the things that helped you to get where you are, to be able to say, I've got long-term experience. Now you want to turn it into a sustainable paycheck that carries on. Okay. A couple of things come to my mind. Number one is the famous thing we talk about, which is the side hustle. Maybe there's a way to do some things, whether it be volunteering or something else on the side that give you some value in another arena that experience might actually be looked at in a different way. Secondly, I'm telling you to turn your own personal brain on and figure out a little bit more about how you can present the best of you and find creative ways to share that experience. So I know you might be 50. I know you might be 54. You could be 60. I don't care. Because there was one comment on there about how do I change jobs? How do I do something and find my passion at age 60? Okay. Yeah. Hey, 60 is the old 50 or the old 45 if you've got the energy. So why can't you post some things on LinkedIn that are shareable content that use that experience? Maybe not self-promoting yourself, but if you add the value and show the experiences you've had and the ways that you helped other people or other companies or clients, customers, whatever, if you share that, all of a sudden people start looking at you different. It's not about self-promotion. It is to a degree, but it's not about self-promotion. It's just about strategic promotion of contributions you've made and putting yourself out there as an industry, I don't want to say insider as much as I would say industry thought leader. Here's what I can add to a dialogue or conversation. You have to not be afraid to put yourself on the platform. And a lot of people are nervous as heck. I don't know what people are going to think of me. I don't have to put myself out there. Yeah, exactly. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, it's very much in my mind is around that idea of value and perspective of what you're bringing in. And the two things that jump out to me in this is if you are, we'll call seasoned, out there, there's a big opportunity to mentor and to show value within the organization to the younger ones that are coming up. And trust me, that does have significant value within a company. I think the other part of it is staying really close with leadership on what the objectives are and making sure that everything you're doing is aligned with the objectives of leadership and you're leveraging the experience, your relationships, the things that you can bring to bear to show, again, continued value. I know this might sound really fundamental and very tactical, but I just, when that came up from Paul, I just thought mentorship and alignment, there's nothing worse than, and it could be young or old, when it feels like musical chairs and the music stops and there's not a seat, so how do you make sure you have a seat? You show the value within the organization, you show the value outside of the organization.
Some people are afraid to take the initiative to be a mentor. They wait to get tapped on the shoulder. You don't need a stage or a platform. Sometimes it's listening to somebody else on the team or on your team and figuring out where they can maybe be helped or how you can add something. All those experiences need to be put to use. Otherwise they're lost,
100%.
What do you got? You got anything? Anybody commenting?
Actually, it's funny. So David Ogren said, unfortunately, he's got a team meeting he's got to get to right now, but he said 62 is just a number.
so David Ogren, former PGA Tour winner, by the way, one of the real good guys, chiming in from San Antonio.
That is awesome. And then Doug, I believe, Ponsler from Cleveland.
Yep.
I love this. He's like, there are a lot of startups, innovation hubs that need mentorship, experiences, and advice. So, within your own community, you can be, again, using that perspective and experience to drive value, and potentially could be one of those, hey, Paul, you've been a big help here. Would you come work with us? You never know where that bridge or that door may lead you. I love it. Thank you. Thank you, Doug.
Doug's a pal. He's you talk about thought leadership and a guy who really jumps in and makes a difference. Years in leadership at Owens Corning. All right, so
a small company. Some people may know of it.
Yeah, not too shabby. And he's been a follower for a while, so always good to have him chime in. He'd be terrific to join us someday and share some of his insight. There, I just put him on the clock. Okay.
There you go, Doug. That sounds like an invite, actually.
That does sound like an invite. And all right. By the way, we have some news that's coming up in just a little bit. All right. That's my second teaser. We've got some news.
Is this when we go to weather and then
Weather on the 8s? Yes. So that's all coming. All right.
All right.
Okay. Just a reminder, questions, we take them from the last time we've joined. We always share them. And I want to be able to put the information out there as to where you can do that. You can send them to the Can Advisory Facebook page. That's where Mike, you know, we see, look at him right now. He's grinding away. You can always get in touch with Mike. See, I try to focus on actually steering the ship here, and, you know, like a steering wheel, like Mike's got back behind. And Mike is actually the guy that is, you know, the one that sits there and handles the, you know, Hub Central. That's good. info@canadvisory.com, or just post it straight up on the Facebook page. Okay, so here we go. Here's today's topic, Mike. New job challenges. Did you say Tara brought that up? That was Tara that, or did I get the name right?
Yeah.
She brought it up. So today's topic is new job challenges, fitting in and finding your way and making impact. All right. So some interesting topic for sure. I find it interesting, and I want your take on this as I get your first impression on this, Mike. We're in a time where a lot of people are being either let go. Again, I know some really talented people sitting on the sidelines waiting for things to turn around and a big hiring, you know, turn of events to happen. Yeah. But when we're trying to find footing in a new job challenge, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? I've got your top 2 things coming in just a few minutes, so don't dive right into that because I don't want to give away your top secrets. But what comes to your mind?
I'm not, you know, honestly, when I think of that, I think back to when I started, you know, new jobs along the way, and there was always that bit of anxiety that I had, you know, stepping, even though I'd gone through the interview process, even though I understood what the role was going to be, even though I'd gone and met the different people, you do the hallway walks, you pop into someone's office. Hey, this is Mike. Hey, this is, you know, Sarah. Okay, great. There's still, even though you get that feeling, that vibe, there's a little bit of that anxiety of, am I going to fit in? Am I enough? You know, am I going to be able to bring it, you know, once I get in here? I mean, there's also a sense of enthusiasm of like starting new. Okay, I have a chance now to take some of the things that I've learned back here, whether they've been, you know, experiences that have been mistakes, or they've been opportunities that I've been able to learn from, and now I can bring that forward and bring it to bear. You know, so for me, it's always that sort of two-sided, a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of you know, positive anticipation as well.
Yeah. So I totally agree with that about the anxiety side of it. You know, there's a ton of anxiety that comes not only in the interview process, but also in the first few days. So with that,
now I got to back it up, right?
No doubt. You just nailed it. That's where I was going to go with that, to back it up. So, you know, the first impression that comes to my mind on this very topic is simply about, you know, living up to the billing. You know, you've gone through this interview process. You end up starting this new job, and people are all looking around. They want to know, you know, who's this new guy, who's this new gal, and that have come in, and what are they going to add? And some people, quite frankly, they feel a little bit threatened by bringing in somebody new, you know, and you also feel like you have to prove yourself. Now, it doesn't matter really what it is that we do in our career. I'm sure you felt this to a degree, but I will tell you this: in the TV world in which I lived, you get hired and you show up in a new market or on a network stage. For me, like Golf Channel, man, you feel like you got to produce. There's a lot of eyes on you. Is this person worthy? You know, and there's pressure.
That word. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I love that word worthy, because I think that also comes back to what we ask and challenge ourselves. Am I worthy of this? Holy crap. You know?
Well, I mean, so 18 years of doing TV, and all of a sudden I'm the chief communications officer of a professional sports league. And I remember walking in, and suddenly I've gone from a cubicle to this big office, and I'm like, wow, you know, there's a lot of talented people around this building that have been here a lot longer than me, which is something I'm going to get to in my deeper dive on this topic. And I was like questioning. It was an abrupt change for me, and a big role for me. And I did feel some pressure. And I also felt like I had to prove something, you know, that why would I be chosen, all of that. So I think there are things in people's roles that they get, and you feel like you have to produce quickly. And that puts pressure on you. I think you need to sit back a little bit. I'll get to that in a minute. But the fear of what people think and what people will say about you as a newbie is a little bit daunting. And I think you have to let go of that, and you have to trust. You have to trust the process of, you know what? I don't know how many people they interviewed for this job. But somehow, some way, there is a believer in me. And sometimes it only takes one. But my job is to not make you all believe that I'm worthy, but I need to show myself that I belong here. Now, that can carry on between my own ears, and I'm going to walk around this building or, go out and meet with customers or whatever and share my knowledge. But I'm going to work to live up to my own billing. Not everybody else's, because that's too much pressure. That's what I think anyway.
You'll never do it. You'll never do it, and that's in any aspect of our lives, right? If we go about our day trying to exceed others' expectations of ourselves, man, that's a that's a first class ticket to a padded room or a bottle of dark liquor. I mean you're never going to do it. You're just never going to do it, and. I love that, because this always also gets back to the core of what we continue to talk about, Craig, which is that, this is about elevating you. It comes from in here. A lot of the messages that we share and talk about and walk through are about starting from inside, not outside. Get the head trash cleared out, and stay in your space of authenticity. Figure out where that space of authenticity is for you. Get that courage and confidence.
A lot of it's a confidence factor. It's one thing to throw a resume out there on a job search and say, I applied for this job or I applied for that job. It's another thing altogether that when it comes to being real, we get nervous, we get edgy about interviews and all that. And we forget that sometimes what they really want is that word authentic. You got to be you. You don't have to have every answer. You just have to be the person who can connect. And that's really important. And that's one of the things that I'm going to talk about here in just a second. So those are some first impressions from both of us on this topic. Again, if you've got questions or comments, Can Advisory Facebook page, or email them to this address right here, info@canadvisory.com. And we will bring them up the next time we get together. Obviously, with the holidays, things are a little bit interesting. We'll see how many of these we do here in the month of December. But it's great to be with everybody here. So
it's already December, man. That's crazy. Okay,
I know,
sorry.
It is nuts. With that, I challenged Mike, as always, to come up with his big two and the new job challenges. So we're going to take them. We're going to take them one at a time. Mike's big two, when we're talking about new job challenges and how you can find your footing and find your way. So here is Mike's first one that he wanted to talk about. And it's all about the T word.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, this is something that I learned the absolute hard way in one of my career stops, where I came into an organization at a senior leadership position, and thought that my reputation alone was going to carry through, that I was competent, that I was capable, that I could do the job, and that people should trust me because of the years of experience that I had behind me, because of the things that I had done, the things that were, that are on LinkedIn or that, on your resume. And I started making some changes in-house in the first couple of months. And some, might have been significant. In my mind, they were necessary in order for us to get going. And I think part of that was my own desire, as you said before, Craig, to prove myself and to show that I can get the job done. And I wasn't quite pacing myself. It was like, I got to go. I'm going to show people that I'm hard after it. And I started making changes, and I did that without having already earned the trust of the people around me, that they understood what I was doing, more importantly, the intentions behind it. And that's the whole point of trust. There's two components of that. There's competency and there's character. The competency part, I figured I had already earned, because look at what I've done. Look at my experience. But the character part was still new to so many people that they hadn't worked with me. And I made the unfortunate assumption that people trusted my character just by virtue of me being there. And I hadn't worked to earn their trust before I started making these big changes.
So how do you do it?
So you earn it every day, man. Every single day we are earning trust. It's just like I say, like every day we earn our reputations, right? You have to ask yourself at the end of the day, what did I earn today? It's the same thing with trust. It's in your interactions. It's keeping your commitments. It is, hitting deadlines. It's ensuring that when you are interacting with people that you're doing so in a trustworthy manner, helping them understand what the vision is and how we can get there. That's earning trust, right? Showing people that pathway forward so they understand why it's happening. But more importantly, that they trust that you're the person that can help them get there, not just through the competence, but the character that you bring and who you are. So to me, like the first thing I tell people when you're getting into a new role, I don't care if it's a new organization, I don't care if it's within your existing organization, you have to work. One of your full-time responsibilities is earning the trust of the people that are around you, your colleagues, the key stakeholders above you, below you, left and right of you.
Well, that boils down to then whatever the first couple of assignments you have delivering, right? Because they have to see you in action. Resume is one thing. Actions speak louder than words. And in this case, it would be words on paper, words on LinkedIn, whatever. Yes. So that gets back to a little bit of the pressure situation to produce early on.
It is. And let me just kind of wrap up that story too.
Okay.
That experience, the fact that I started in that way, actually, in my opinion, it hindered the next several years that I was at that organization. Just being completely transparent with you and our friends that are joining us on the World Wide Web, is that I really believe that because I didn't focus on building that trust and earning that early on, right, and just believing that my experience was going to carry the day, I believe that hindered my ability to be more effective, not only in the job itself, but also in the relationships that I wanted to build. Yeah, so I have ever since then, forevermore, when I am in a new position or I'm with new people, I focus first and foremost on how can I build trust with these people here.
Okay. Your second one is this. It's about demonstrating your value. You want to explain that?
Yeah. So, I look at it this way. There have been times, and this was another experience I had when I started the job. I thought I was crystal clear on what I was supposed to be doing and what I was being measured against, only to find out 6 months later in a review that was not really what my boss, I won't call them a leader, they were a boss at the time, what the boss wanted me to do. A leader would have taken me aside in the first month and said, "Hey, Mike, you seem to be going off in this direction over here. It's not really delivering the value that we need or why we brought you in. So why don't we like course correct a little bit?" This person waited for like 6 months until a mid-year review and then hammered me with, "You're not bringing the value. I don't know why we're paying you this, your salary." It was a really devastating experience for me, but an important lesson that if you're going to a new gig, it's great during the interview process to have an idea and tell you, "Oh, here's the job responsibilities and here are the things you're responsible for." Okay, that's great on paper. I would get in a couple of weeks and then make sure that that's translating into real life in a way that you understand, and that you and your leadership team are synced up on. So again, that's just earning value, delivering value by being crystal clear on what you're supposed to deliver.
I think it's important every year, people get nervous and they get anxious about the review. Or their 60-day or their 90-day or whatever it might be, and you know what they're focused on? Yeah, they want to hear how well they've done. They want to hear, what they're doing, but they're also thinking, am I going to get a raise? Like they think about the money aspect. Sure. I think one thing that's really important to do, and I was given this advice a long time ago, and I believe it to be true. Every year, ask your boss, assuming you have the same boss. So let's go there. 3 years, 4 years, 5. Ask the same question in that review. Could you tell me why you hired me?
And that's a scary question sometimes, man.
Right? Why you picked me, why you brought me in. And it'll always bring you back to the real value that you were chosen for and what you're supposed to deliver upon. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to come up with some new goals to maybe hit your, bonus or whatever might be tied to, your compensation package or whatever it might be. But ask what the value is that you're supposed to bring. Why did you hire me? And I think that both people need that reminder. I sometimes got questioned about delegating things, and I said, I know why I was brought here, and I know the things that I'm supposed to do within this role, and I want to make those around me better as well, giving them great opportunities. And as a team, hopefully that will bring us closer together. Number one, it will keep people motivated. Number two, they won't be looking out the window or out the door for the next opportunity because they'll feel engaged and they'll feel a part of it. And so that's some of the stuff that came to my mind as you were talking about that.
Yeah, man. And look, we got a couple of comments in here too. I love this. So like, Tara McAllister also chimed in here on the Facebook stream. Joining a sales team is tough. You want to seem like a team player, but at the same time, establish yourself as someone who wants to be successful. And that can get a little tricky, right? When you're coming in and say, hey man, I'm part of the team, but I'm also kind of focused on hitting my numbers at the same time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There's pressure to hit those numbers. I've done a lot of workshops with sales organizations or sales teams from organizations, and, you get them in a room and everybody is, I don't want to say they're territorial because they have their sales territories, but they can oftentimes learn so much from other people's successes if they just spend a little time on that. Like, what are the success stories? So somebody might win Salesperson of the Year, and everybody's sitting back there going, I wish that was me. Well, listen a little bit and find out what it was that they were able to do that helped them in that role. And I find sometimes that salespeople shouldn't be so territorial because they've got their stake in the ground. They've got their state or their region or whatever. So you focus on that. You're not really competing against Jane, John, or Joe over here. You're competing against yourself. So how can you get better, and what can you learn from Jane, John, or Joe that can help get you where you want to go?
Well, so that's an interesting point about getting better inside as well, right? But I think that as we're looking at our own performance, we not only have to make sure we're getting better here, but we have to understand what that looks like outside of us with the competition, as well, whether it be colleagues, a couple of another point here, if you don't mind.
Sure. Let it rip.
Ben Cross, I love this. He's like, trust like reputation takes time and consistency to build, for sure. Doug has a great question, and I'm going to throw this one over to you. Is, do you believe that trusting others also enables others to trust you?
Oh, 100% true. Yeah. Absolutely. One of the best things to me, I had a young woman on my communications team once upon a time, and I think she was struggling a little bit to find her why and her what. Like, she knew she was talented at certain things, and my job, I felt like, was to trust her enough to give her these opportunities. But once you do that, you got to be there as well to answer some questions or help coach them so that they can find their success, so that they have the confidence to move forward. And then they trust you as a leader that A, you're going to help steer them in the right direction, and B, you're actually the person that's going to help them raise their career. I mean, that's what it's about. But yes, absolutely. If you trust in somebody else, I think they gain more trust in you as a leader. If you don't trust in them and you start passing the buck to other people, and they're sitting on the sidelines going, hey, wait a second, what about me?
Where am I?
What are they? Again, it goes back to your big word of reputation. What are they walking out the door saying about you as a leader? This person doesn't trust me. They don't believe in me. And it brings down morale, because then that person, most often, we live in a society and people like to chirp and talk, and suddenly a conversation goes around and people get demoralized and they feel like they're not contributing or they're not a part of it. So,
I call that I call that oftentimes that's the meeting after the meeting, where people sit around the room and they all nod their head in agreements, that yes, this is what we're going to do. And that's a great idea. And then there's the meeting after the meeting where people are doing the, can you believe they said that? Can you believe, oh, this isn't going to work. Let's just sit back and watch this go down in the ball of flames.
Exactly.
It's tough. Okay. Sorry.
Quick comment just on this. I don't want to leave this up too long. This is not a massive commercial, folks. But
this wasn't the teaser, by the way.
Mike, no, it's not. We've got news coming up. Mike and I, we joined Jill, and we love this opportunity. Present to Win is what it's called. It's a webinar series. So much is based right now on this little camera right here and how we can own it and deliver. Mike speaks on his own. I speak on my own. Jill does the same thing. What we do as a collective group is come in and really give your team something special using each and every one of our experiences. We have our own lanes. If I can use Mike's racing analogy, and we try to stay in that lane, but you and your company, one power-packed interactive webinar, 90 minutes, actionable takeaways, and an eye-opening experience. That's what we promise. That's what we deliver on. And an opportunity for somebody in that group to earn the green shoe. info@canadvisory.com. And we'll set up a meeting where we can talk about that. Okay? So with that, I'm going to move on to my big two. And I know you've got something that you want to chime in on and add. And maybe, just maybe, it will be based upon one of the things that I say here. So the first one that I want to talk about,
man, you're a pro.
I love Mike's were trust and value. All right. So I'm going to go with a couple of L's, and neither of them are loser, by the way. The first one is listen. Okay. So you land in your new job, and the first thing we all want to do, you know what we want to do? We want to talk. And we want to tell people about our backgrounds, and we want to get people to know us, and we want to get people to, you feel this sense of, I've got to validate my being. I've got to validate my resume. I've got to tell people why I was picked. And I think it's absolutely backwards. To your point about trust and the value that you can bring, sometimes it will just evolve and it will happen. So the first thing that I would say is what we really need to do is we need to spend a lot of time listening and spend time bringing our teammates in. I'm not suggesting that you're going into the job as the leader. Okay, they didn't necessarily hire you as senior VP of this, or you don't have a team under you. Maybe you are a part of the team under somebody else. That's great. Go out to lunch with a few of the people. Don't get stirred up in the conversation about what's wrong here, or, where are the pain points and all that, but find out about teammates. So if we're trying to build trust and show value, one of the great value things that we can have is to be a good listener. And I think that's really important, listening, learning, and then leading. But listening is just such a key thing. It actually takes the focus off of you coming in thinking you're all this, and you actually show compassion, concern, care for the others that are around you. And I think it does, to your term, build instant trust that you're not a threat, that you're a person who wants to come in and be part of a team. What's your take on that?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, what do people like to talk about the most? And it's
themselves.
It's themselves. And in this case, when you can do so in the context of the work they've been doing, or understanding what the landscape is like, and asking those questions, of them, I think it's important. I think that then, so here's the bridge to the point I wanted to make before that Doug kind of inspired or tripped in my head is the idea of people then understanding what your intention is. There was a British psychologist who did a lot of work on this idea of trust in companies and culture. And he said that if you could, as a leader, tell your people from the beginning 2 key things: I mean you no harm, and I'm here for your greatest good. People will then understand your intentions, whether it's good news or bad news you're delivering. And I think in this case, when you're talking about listening, if you can listen to people and listen to what their concerns are, listen to what their thoughts are, listen to what their ideas are, you can learn so much, not only how you can be of more value as a leader or a teammate, but also in your own role itself.
Yeah, I'll go back before I move on to my next one and just add this. That transition that I had from TV guy to sudden leader, executive board member, all that sort of stuff, where I had people that I was responsible for and all. I'll be totally honest. I felt like I had to prove myself in an arena that I wasn't necessarily groomed. It's not that I wasn't groomed to be in it. It's that my resume didn't suggest that I was on that path to be a chief communications officer. Now, I understood media. I understand communications. I understand how to present, storytelling, messaging. That's my wheelhouse. Okay. That's all great. But I admit that I went in there trying to go, okay, now what do I need to do this? And I will tell everybody, there were a couple of people that I leaned on a lot that were on my team that were, certainly younger than me and had been there, and they were incredibly valuable to me. One of them's name was Mike. Another one was Kelly. I hired people that I thought were actually better than me in a lot of different skill set areas. And I listened a lot. And I tried like heck to put them in spots where they could be the superstar. And I felt like that was a great opportunity for the overall team, but I had to listen. There were opportunities where I talked, no doubt about it. Hey, Craig, you're going to host this, or you're going to do that, or whatever it might be. Get it. But a lot of it for me was learning and listening.
Craig, do you think that I'm curious because of what you just said about that transition and role of what your resume would have suggested versus where you were. Were you fighting a bit with that imposter syndrome, especially at that level?
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, I'm trusting the way you're asking it is, who's this guy? Why is he here? And why did we bring him in to do this? This is so outside the box. This is
even
crazy.
For yourself, though. I'm thinking even for yourself, going, oh my gosh, I'm sitting here. Now I'm responsible for people. Yeah. I'm sitting at a board level. I'm expected to have an opinion, speak my mind on things that maybe I haven't really done before.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Well, my thought process was, at least I tried to do this. I tried to speak when it was in my lane. So often people feel like they need to chirp up on all topics. Yeah. I could be guilty of that. No doubt. I have a lot of opinions, and I'm not afraid to say that, but I needed to stay in my wheelhouse. And so I think one of the challenges for me was finding my new voice, because I knew what my old voice was. I knew exactly what my role was. And I did it every day, sometimes 3 times a day, whether it was a half hour or an hour or whatever it might be. And suddenly I was responsible for other people and their success. Mm-hmm. And yes, I did at times question that a little bit, but I loved it. I mean, the fact that all of a sudden I was responsible for people and I could lead a team and I really enjoy that, got me up and got me excited. I used to, I would live in Orlando, driving to Daytona Beach, and I would get up early at 6 and I'd be there early. I really enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy the 1 hour drive, but it cleared my mind. 2 hours in the car a day, by the way. So I really enjoyed that opportunity. I really did. Yeah. No question about it. All right. So my first one is listening to your teammates. I think that's important if you're trying to find your footing and the new job challenges. Again, our topic today, if you're just joining us, new job, new challenges, finding your footing, making an impact. That's what we're discussing. My second one is learn. And I did say listen, learn, lead. But what I want to talk about here is the importance of learning the company's story. Okay, so we go through an interview process, and what we're really focused on is a role. What are we going to do? What are we going to play? How are we going to do this? Hey, can you tell me what my day-to-day is going to be? What are you going to ask of me? All this. And what some people, in my opinion, don't think enough about is, okay, what is it that this place that I now work is all about? And so it's great for the CEO to know it. It's great for the chief marketing officer to know the story. It's great for the head of communications or HR. Now, HR needs to know the story as well or better than anybody. And I've seen in my career some people in HR that are so focused on hiring and budgets and all that they don't think enough about their true impact of delivering the company story and the message. like getting caught up in numbers and people and positions. I mean, that's all great, but I don't think they see the value that they actually have in the role. It's huge. It's as big as the person that you walk in, who's sitting in the lobby, the first person you greet. HR is the first person, right, that you're going to most likely come into contact to. They're the ones that dealt with your resume and pushed it to the front or brought you in,
contract,
right?
Yeah, exactly. Your contract. Yeah, right.
Absolutely. So the company story is really important. And I heard a story once from Jason Benetti, who was on my podcast, Tracks to Success. So Jason is the play-by-play voice of the Chicago White Sox, and he's also on ESPN and many other things. And he said in his learning curve, he went to Syracuse. He's terrific at what he does, by the way. And he talked about the best way to become valuable in your job behind the microphone in your sport is to read the rule book front to back. Know the rules of the game backwards and forwards. Understand your sport like if you were refereeing or umpiring or whatever it might be. And so I use that here to say, then the best thing you could do is dive into the history of the organization. Who were the key players? What were the biggest successes? Go back to what it is we aim to do, how we aim to do it, and who we're serving. Because nothing is more important than the story we tell. It's great to say, this is what we do, but you got to be able to tell people how you do it. And that's really important. Storytelling is huge.
Well, storytelling and understanding what you're coming into, and then where do you fit in that? When I was at Roush Fenway and we'd have new members of the competition team come on board, one of the first things they did was they would sit and spend time with Jack Roush, our team owner. And we would talk about how the company started, why he started it, what they're doing, the responsibility that they had, and a challenge that we had on the other side, on the business side, was how do you take that and then make sure that the people on the business side, understand the story and the legacy and feel that sense of pride, and we had our ways of doing it. But I think that's 100% spot on, of learning more about your company as much as the role. I love it.
Yeah. I think that it's really important for everybody in the organization to know that. And the reason why is if we're trying to build awareness or amplify, right, the company's value or brand or whatever it might be, then we need everybody in the organization to be able to tell it. And the other part of that is that, and I used to talk about this a lot. Yes, there are employees that work here. We need to turn them into ambassadors.
Oh, hands down.
Because every single person has a collective tribe, if you will, or a group, a following. And if you combine it all together, that's a pretty big group of influence that you can share, and you want to try to get everybody on board. So that's that.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely. Hey,
go ahead.
Well, there were a couple
about to move into our big news, by the way.
Okay. Before we get into the big news, a couple points here. I love it. Ben Cross in South Carolina mentioned, listening to others demonstrates your respect for them and helps build their trust in you. I think it's a great point.
Really good point.
Jeff Patterson is a good question here. I'm going to throw this one to you. How do you build trust with coworkers when you're being told from management to not get involved? It's a fine line. How do you build trust with coworkers when you're being told from management to not get involved? That's an interesting one.
That's an interesting one, and it's a little bit like not get involved in what, I mean, is it that you're told to just sit there and push paper and send emails and
or maybe it's something that's not even in your area, because sometimes we find ourselves kind of like looking over into other people's areas. Maybe there's a lot to dig in there. I take that, when I read that in there is if it's something that you're responsible for, you have to have a conversation with management to understand, okay, why would I not be involved in this? The other part of it then is probably communicating with your coworkers and saying, I'm being asked, to stay in this lane and focus on this work here. There's probably more to it that Jeff has. But that's an interesting question.
That line of I'm here if you need me. And I think sometimes that can be a very helpful tool. It goes back to the listening aspect. I don't know if somebody's telling you to stay out of the way or stay out of the fray, one of those two things, then that's probably a good thing. We don't know what exactly it is here, but if you're not being given the role, you support and you wait your turn and then you deliver. And you know, how can I help? What can I add to what it is that you're trying to do? Or I'm here if you need anything, ready and willing to be a team player. I think that's important. So really cool. I like the interaction today. It's been fun to hear from those.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Mine, listen and learn. Mike's, trust and value. So those are the things that we focused on. Now, I want to share a couple of things that I think are big. And Mike and I have talked about this for a while, about what we do. And so I have been following you. You know this, right? So there we go.
Thank you,
I'm giving you the opportunity to talk about this, and I'm pretty excited for you. And I want to hear the story behind it. Like, did you have to sit into in a voiceover room and do it yourself, or how did that all go down?
Yeah, it did. And actually, and thank you, man. I'm grateful. Yes, the book is now on Audible, in audio form. You can get on Audible, iTunes, and Amazon. But I'll tell you, Craig, I had to be talked into this by a few people, because I was saying to myself, maybe I'll get someone else to read it. I'll get somebody else to do it and make it work. And they're like, Mike, that isn't going to work. It's got to be your voice. Nobody else can tell the stories.
It has to be authentic, right?
Right. I mean, but I'm like,
well, you wrote the words. You got to be able to read them too.
I know, man. But the idea, like, that was so fun. Like, maybe for you, who's, you know, come up in a career with a microphone, you know, in front of you, and being in the studio, it was really intimidating for me. It was really intimidating. So after kind of pushing it off for about 8-10 months, because I wasn't comfortable, I did this. I told myself, I got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So I did. I booked the time. I went in the studio, you know, over the course of a month or so, month and a half, I went in and recorded the book. And it was an amazing experience. You know, it really was. How I felt going in is not at all how I felt coming out at the end of it. You know, I was much more comfortable. I'm sitting there going, why did it take me so long? Why did it take people having to talk me into it? So anyway, who told, like, ultimately, how do you do that? You take the manuscript and then away you go, right? I literally, I mean, I didn't like have the book open and read here, but I had the manuscript out on my computer. Yeah. And I would just read, and I'd scroll, and I'd read and scroll, and I've got a lot of bloopers and a lot of, thank goodness for the
so into an audio booth, and your publisher was there to guide you, saying, hey, we're going to put this out on Amazon. You send it all to them.
That was me. No, I took care of that. So I went in, I booked the studio, I booked with some great people here locally who have done audiobooks. They packaged it up. I went to an online distribution company, ACX, that works with Audible, iTunes, and Amazon. You know, we submitted it, went through a couple of back and forths that they needed, and boom, here we are. You know, so
great. So
I'm excited,
tell people how they can get it, where can they get it, and all of that. And obviously, you can still buy the real book too.
You can
still waiting for mine that's signed by Mike Mooney. I've never seen that yet.
Not there yet?
Do I need an address or what's going on?
Maybe that would be good. That'd be good. Or actually, if you end up, no, I will. I can't believe you haven't gotten one yet, brother. But yes, you can buy the actual book on Amazon or on my website, and I'll make sure that it's autographed and sent to you. But you can get the audio version again on Audible, iTunes, and on Amazon. And I'll throw this out there as well. If you email me at mike@mikemooney.com, mike@mikemooney, MOONEY.com. I've got 10 promo codes that I
saw this.
Yeah. So go ahead and hit me on email. You can put in the subject line promo code Elevating You, and I'll send you a promo code that you can download and get a audio copy of it.
Okay. So congrats on that. Really cool.
Thank you,
and I'm looking forward to the read. Need one over the holidays. Now,
I will get that to you.
So it's finally there, and I'm excited about it. I've been talking about it with you for a long time. You were one of the inspirational people to me to get my butt moving and turn a career worth of thoughts into a book. And it is coming. January 19, 2021. It's called Can You Get Our Attention? And it is really about elevating you and putting you in a position to best present you. How do we stand out, not just as a human being, but with our story, with our company? How do we get the company to stand out? How do we get the brand to stand out? And how can you stand out? We live in this world of all of this noise and so many people working in various industries. Our competition is thick no matter what we do. How can you get me or us to pay attention? Can you grab our attention? So there's the title of the book, Can You Get Our Attention? It's coming out in January, and it's available right now for pre-order on Amazon.
Man, I'm super proud of you. You know, everyone's got a book in them, from one way or another. You've got a story to tell, but it's not easy to get that out, you know. And Craig, I remember when you brought that up. You're like, yeah, I'm thinking about doing it. I know I need to do it. I just got to kind of get myself started, you know. So, man, super proud of you. Listen, I'll tell you what my publicist told me when I got my first box of books in, when I got them delivered from the publisher. I want you to do this thing. He said, no, when you get it, open up the box and with one hand, take one of the books out and look at it. Okay. And then with your other hand, I want you to take it and put it on your shoulder like this and just pat yourself on the back for a little bit. Just you got it. Take that moment to celebrate, you know?
Yeah.
And then get back to work.
Well, the proofreading process and a lot that goes into it, I will tell people out there, and I hope you'll jump online and make some comments, you know, here to Mike and I. There are ways to get autographed copies of this thing, and we will make sure that happens. More information to come. But I didn't want to have it come out in 2020. Not a big believer in the merits of this year. I wanted it to be new year, new you. Okay, so that's one thing. That's why it's coming out in January. It's been done for a while, but the process is enormous, as you know, and making sure everything is what it is. So in this book, I share all of my thoughts on various topics that will help people in ways to stand out, be it in great communication, strategic branding, presentation skills, media coaching, social media, other ways that I've experienced and pushed out. So all of the things that I talk about in my workshops and my keynotes, it's all in there. But I felt like if I'm going to tell people how to, you know, or the importance of sharing the story of the organization or making the company's brand stand out, then I better be pretty transparent and pretty authentic. So in this book, I share my own career journey, start to finish, soup to nuts, from childhood. There's some pictures in there of me at a very, very young age.
And that's worth the price of admission right there.
All the way through my journey. You'll see some interesting pictures of some of the people that I worked with and things that were important to me and how it shaped, molded me, who my influencers were. I talk a lot about influence. And so my handful of influencers, I've reached out to all of them, and they are in the book as well with their thoughts on the importance of building brands and strategic communication and putting the best of yourself forward. So I find it to be a real cool compilation of work and life. And I hope that everybody will enjoy that. So that's it. It's coming out and it's available now on Amazon.
So Ben Cross asked, why didn't you spell can with a K? Can you get our attention? I love it.
Yeah, that's good. Now, if I had $1 for everybody that's ever said things like that to me, can do, can present, can this, can that. That's a good one though. I like it. Yeah.
So good. Well, that's Craig, again, congratulations. Exciting times. It's great to be able to be putting out information for people to be able to use to help, quite honestly, just drive them forward, you know?
Exactly. Well, we're going to push Jill when she joins us next time. We're going to push Jill into writing a book as well. So we'll eventually get her there. So Mike and I, our books are there. Great holiday opportunity. Mine comes out then, but you can pre-order it now on Amazon. You can get Mike's book and his audio version on Amazon as well. Here's the topic for the next time. Okay. You don't even know this, but this is what we're doing. New year and big new thing. What is your big new thing? We're going to try to get people thinking about that. When the ball drops, don't drop the ball. You know, the importance of a fast start. This is right up your alley, you know, coming out of the pits or the minute they drop the flag, getting going.
That's it. That's it. I mean, there's something, you know, in racing where that restart is one of the most important elements of the race itself, right? Because it helps get you in position for the upcoming laps and the rest of the race or that segment that you're racing in. So I think that's a great way to look at Q1 getting into 2021. It's awesome.
Yeah. No, so that's it. Really enjoyed today, Mike. Thanks so much for the time. And
thanks to everybody for joining in and asking the questions and getting involved. I mean, that just, you know, makes our day and makes us so much more enjoyable. So thank you for adding your thoughts and ideas and wisdom to us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate everybody. We'll do it again next time. You can follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, Can Advisory Facebook, obviously where you're watching this, and our Facebook pages and LinkedIn as well. Mike, have a good one, buddy. A lot coming down the pike, and have a great week this week.
You do the same. Thanks, man. Cheers, everybody.
Thanks, everybody, for being a part of it today. We really appreciate it.